Hello everyone and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week commencing Monday the 18th of April 2022. Can you hear how excited my voice is? I bet you can already. It's Gary here again, and I'd firstly like to wish everyone a happy belated Easter. And for some reason, I'm fairly certain that your Easter was indeed very, very happy, with Rangers capping off a tremendous week by making progress in the two competitions where we have the most realistic chance of silverware coming home to Ibrox for this season. And I tell you what, folks, sometimes, honestly, this pod can be a little bit of a drag to prepare and record and produce each week, especially at some points this season, and even more so as we've surrendered our lead atop the Premiership table in this half of the season. But when I get to talk about what I'm going to talk about this week, when the stars align and we all collectively watch history being made right in front of our eyes, I can assure you that this week is absolutely not one of those weeks that it is a drag. It's an absolute pleasure, quite the opposite of a drag, to be perfectly honest. So let's get right into the game segment for this past week, and it is a very happy and upbeat one, as I'm sure you can imagine. Two games to cover. The first one was the Europa League quarter-final, second leg at home to Braga last Thursday, and we just went and did it again, turning a deficit against Braga into an amazing victory to see us through to the semi-final of the Europa League. I'm going to say that one more time because it feels tremendous to even just hear myself say it. Rangers Football Club are in the semi-finals of the Europa League. Yes, indeed. Unlike the first leg, where we had some really ropey moments and some dodgy defending thrown in there, especially kind of like in the middle third of the game, we were just quite simply irresistible and utterly relentless for almost the entire game on Thursday night. I mentioned in last week's pod, when discussing the first leg, that we were very much in ascendancy towards the end of the match in Portugal, and I did hope that ascendancy would continue into the second leg and we could use that momentum to get off to a flyer last Thursday. And man, oh man, did we ever. What a brilliant start we had with Captain Fantastic James Tavernier scoring in just 75 seconds from a very acute angle after a brilliant Barisic ball was flicked on by Joe Aribo. An absolute dream of a start, and that's the tie levelled right away within 2 minutes. And we weren't done there. We had the ball in the net a few minutes later, where a completely back to form Borna Barisic, how great has he been this last couple of games, 3 games I guess now, put another great cross in for Roof to head home, and we're in dreamland. But unfortunately for us, Borna had unintentionally handled the ball in the lead up, and our good old friend, usually our good old friend from previous rounds, VAR, spotted it and chalked it off. I tell you what, I looked at that from the different angles that the referee was getting to see from VAR. There's no way you can unequivocally say that definitely hit his hand. Yes, there was a wee movement of it, kind of like him pulling his hand back, but in terms of absolutely seeing, yes, that struck his hand. I didn't see an angle. The referee did, though, and just decided, okay, that's it. And it's, as I say, it's chalked off. We just continued to dominate with wave after wave after wave of attack. And it looked like we could score whenever we went up the pitch. It was just one of those nights. To try to stop the rot run about the midway point, their goalie goes down. What a headbanger that goalie was, wasn't he? He was kind of all over the place the whole game. He goes down to some sort of phantom shoulder or elbow injury around about 25 minutes or so, and it just, to me, it seemed to be a blatant attempt to slow the game down, as we were just so dominant at that point. But unfortunately for him, it just didn't work, because we picked up exactly where we left off and kept at them. Roof hits the bar from about a yard out after yet another Aribo flick around about 30 minutes. He really should have scored that one, of course, based on the form that he's in right now. And then he's then released not long after for a kind of almost one-on-one with their goalie, and only for the central defender to pull him down in the box, earn himself a red card for denying a goal-scoring opportunity. And we're also awarded the penalty kick. There was a wee bit of debate I saw about whether it should have been a red card, but not the way I saw it, and not if you apply the rules properly. He was through and goal, he had a goal-scoring opportunity and was fouled in their box. Facts. They're just facts. So up steps Captain Fantastic once again, James Tavernier, who had to wait what an absolute age, it felt like an eternity, to get the opportunity to take the penalty. Such was the amount of faffing about by their players and the referee, but when he did take it, he did what he normally does and dispatched it so coolly down the centre of the goal to make it 2-0, and that was basically the end of the first half. Our overall play and crossing and chance creation was absolutely dynamite in the first half. What a tremendous half we had. Absolutely relentless and superb from start to finish, and just amazing intensity overall. At half time, I think we were all wondering why the heck we weren't already through to the semis with the amount of chances we created, with how much we had absolutely dominated that team. In the second half, while not quite as intense or relentless as the first half was, it was still completely dominant. We were the better team by a mile. Playing against 10 men isn't easy. And it's not only Rangers that have struggled with that numerous times over the years. And for most of the second half, you might not have been able to tell that we had a man advantage. They were still trying to break. They were still trying to do what they had to do. There was no clear and obvious advantage. I know people were getting a wee bit kind of rattled by the fact that we should be winning because we get an advantage. But there's been many a time we've been down to 10 men as well, and we've defended superbly, and we've managed to see games out and that sort of thing. So it's not just quite as easy as that, and all the while I'm still a wee bit nervous that we've only got the 1 goal advantage. That certainly wasn't lost on me, and that probably was contributing to some of the agitation that I'd heard as well. And then it happens, doesn't it? Rangers just don't give us it easy. Braga get their first corner of the game around about the low 80, like early 80s, 82nd, whatever it was, minute. The boy swings a great ball in, which is met by one of their towering central defenders who meets it perfectly in between. I think it was Connor Goldson and Kamar Roof to get the goal back and level the tie. And oh my word, that took the wind out of our sails for a wee bit. It was a very good header, to be fair. Connor Goldson, you might want to take note. That's how you do it in the opposition box. And I was a wee bit disappointed with the marking, but once again, when we have a goalie who just doesn't come out of his goals to defend cross balls, these things are prone to happen. So pretty much the first thing Alan McGregor had to do in the entire game is pick the ball out of the net. And so into extra time we go. And yet even still, I just didn't have that dread that I sometimes get where I kind of manifest this visualisation that something bad is going to happen. Old habits die hard, I guess, because I'm naturally a positive person, and I try my best to be positive when it comes to Rangers as well. So then into extra time, Joe Aribo then has another incredible assist in the first period of extra time to give Kamar Roof the winning goal to make up for his, can I say shocking miss when he hit the bar earlier? I'm not sure if it was, and he had 2 goals disallowed as well. I didn't actually mention the second disallowed goal earlier because, to be honest, I kind of forgot. But it did look just a shade offside, so no major complaints that. And on another night, he gets a hat-trick, at least a hat-trick. Anyway, he gets what turns out to be the winner, and we're in absolute dreamland. The only other real drama that I can remember was their substitute, Medeiros, getting obviously frustrated, but getting booked for a silly foul on Balogun, up in our area on the right hand of our defensive area. And then as he is on the knife edge of getting himself a little bit flustered and looking to get into a bit of a rammy, the ref gives him his card, and then he decides the best course of action at that point is to get right in the ref's face and verbally abuse him, which earns him the second booking within 30 seconds of the first one, and a red card. What an utter bizarre move. What a clown of a guy. And I said to a few of the lads at the time, and not shortly after too, if that was a Rangers player who just lost his head with the team already down to 10 men and still only 1 goal from taking it to penalties, and he did something as petulant, as bizarre as that, he would have to sneak back to Glasgow, earlier than everyone else, pack his house up and flit during the night, as his life just would not be worth living in the aftermath of that type and style of stupidity. Just incredible. So playing against 10 is kind of difficult. Playing against 9 is a wee bit easier, to be honest. So that I wasn't disappointed. I was just commenting on his behaviour. So we'll see the game out with minimal drama, and that's it, Bears. A 3-1 victory gives us a 3-2 aggregate scoreline, and we are in the semi-final of the Europa League. Oh my word. I don't think I'm going to tire of saying that. On the referee watch, I've lauded the European referees throughout the campaign this season, especially when we got to the knockout stages. And while this guy did okay, I don't recall too much that he had to do in the beginning. You know, I mentioned obviously the VAR disallowed goal for Roof for the handball on Barisic. I just thought he was kind of very stop-starty, especially in the second half of regular time. And that spilled a wee bit into extra time. He didn't make any real howlers or anything, but it just didn't seem quite as solid and as good and consistent as the others that I've commented on in previous rounds. So I'm going to be generous because I'm in a very, very good mood and give him a 7 out of 10 for this one. The second game was at Hampden against the Mob from the east end of the city, and what really truly was a must-win game for us to salvage any sort of domestic success and pride from this season. And again, for some reason, I just knew we were going to win the game. And that's not foolish pride or any form of hopeful delusion or delusions of grandeur or anything like that. I just had saw enough from Rangers in the St Mirren Braga games to have this innate feeling that this team is something special. And Giovanni seems to have finally worked out a way to get the best out of every single player on the pitch, and the players are responding, and they just absolutely have the bit between their teeth from the hunger to prove the doubters wrong, and just really, work their socks off in every single game, battle for everything, work for each other. I had no fears before the game that it wasn't going to work out in our favour, and of course the big news prior to the kick-off was that John McLaughlin was replacing Alan McGregor in goals, and I'm not sure if it was genuinely a McLaughlin always plays in the cup games or a tactical genius move from Giovanni, but McLaughlin didn't put a foot wrong in his goal the whole day. He and some of his fellow defenders gave us a little bit of a scare or two with their constant farting about at the back to try and draw Celtic out, and they made a mess of it more than once. But in terms of protecting his goal, being where he needed to be at all times and coming out for appropriate cross balls, he was fantastic during the whole game, and that's the sort of thing that we don't get from Alan McGregor. I've talked about that previously in terms of his unwillingness to come for any sort of cross ball. We started the game very, very well and dominated the first half in terms of possession and meaningful chances. And the one main thing I remember from the game is that we just got stuck in for the entire game. We picked up a number of deserved yellow cards. There might have been one or two more that we might have got on another game, but we didn't. And I didn't have any complaints about any of the yellow cards that we got through the entire 120 minutes. And we really fought our corner. Now, we didn't back down the whole game. And you know what? That other mob did not like it one little bit. They're not used to anyone standing up to them. And to a man, we did that in every single position. And by the way, Ryan Kent could and should have had a penalty in the first minute. Got a shot away and then was taken down by Callum McGregor. Nope, Bobby Madden decided no. And, that's okay, maybe too early for that sort of thing. But a penalty's a penalty. It doesn't matter to me when it is. And the only really disappointing thing that happened in the first half was to see Aaron Ramsey go off injured just before half time to be replaced by Scott Wright. But Scott Wright had one of those cameo substitute appearances for us. He was brilliant the whole game. We dominated possession in the first half, as I say, and the atmosphere at half time was optimistic. Job done thus far. Now we need to turn that into a goal or two in the second half. The second half, we conceded a wee bit of possession as Celtic grew into the game, but even then, they weren't creating anything or moving the ball around to the point where I had an uh-oh feeling or that kind of sinking feeling. Kind of had that a couple of weeks before at Ibrox, just where I was like, this is just not going to go our way. We've kind of shot our boat, we've had our chances, that kind of thing. Didn't have that at all on Sunday. Then in the 60-odd minute, they get a foul. That isn't a foul, by the way. The replays demonstrated very clearly that it wasn't a foul. And we use the time that they're setting up to take the free kick to have a quick in-game nap. A wee power snooze. Because they take the free kick, that shouldn't have been a free kick, very quickly. And then Taylor has time to control the ball and hit a shot that goes in, and they have the 1-0 lead. Just such a lame goal. Initially, I thought McLaughlin had an absolute nightmare for the goal because it's basically at his near post. But on seeing it on replay, it took a wicked deflection off of Calvin Bassey as he slid in to try and blocked the shot and took it away from McLaughlin. And there you have it. All the hard work, all the endeavour and dominance undone in a split-second lazy defensive moment. Just so frustrating. And my main crumb of comfort at that point was that there was still a lot of the game to go. Not long after their opener, though, they did have a fantastic chance to go 2-0 up, and inexplicably the fella smashed it against the bar from 6 yards out. I'm not exactly sure who it was. So that was a definite let-off for us, and that probably would have been the game if it was 2-0. Giovanni makes a couple of strategic substitutions, bringing on Scott Arfield and Stephen Davis for Joe Aribo and Ryan Jack, and the payoff was almost instant. A great move down the right-hand side culminates in Taff putting in a tremendous driven ball. I love those balls driven, not floated into the box, but just driven hard and low into the box that is kind of half controlled by Roof, and the ball falls perfectly into Arfield's path, and he hits an absolute peach. Like, that's a Hollywood goal of a curling shot past Joe Hart to level the game, and that sparked life right back into our play. If anyone was going to win it in regular time, it was going to be us, and it wasn't to be, unfortunately. So into extra time we go, and I don't really recall there being too much action to speak of in the first half of extra time, but in the second half, Tav hit the post, and the follow-up overhead kick of sorts from Fashion Junior was tipped onto or over the bar by Hart, but havoc was raining down on them, and you could feel it, they could feel it, and we did get a goal chalked off for offside, and to the point of me recording this, I still haven't seen one single replay of it, not one. We've seen lots of replays of the potential Barisic handball that was outside the box, but I guess they're trying to insinuate it was inside the box. Lots of replays of Calvin Bassey being released for our winning goal, and no, it still didn't get to be offside despite how many times you replay it, Premier Sports, but not one of that goal. And I'd love to find out why, because it was a talking point in the game. No one really put up a whole bunch of complaints. It looked like a perfectly good goal for me, but you can't see everything. The replays usually give you that opportunity to actually see really what happened. Nope, no replay, so I have to assume it was a legitimate goal and not actually offside like the linesman said it was, and the reason they didn't want to show it is because they didn't want to provide any more fuel to the fire that we were just the best team on the day. Anyway, with 4 minutes of the second half to play, the second half of extra time that is to play, we have a fantastic passage of play from defence to attack. I think it started with a Glenn Kamara pass, a kind of defence splitting pass, or midfield splitting pass, and it goes through, eventually gets to Ryan Kent. He releases Bassey on the left. Bassey swings it over, and initially it looked like Fashion Junior had popped it home, but on replay it was a starburst own goal. So cue the wild scenes. What a celebration from the Rangers team. And then inexplicably, refs are always biased for Rangers. There are 4 minutes of, what do we call this now, Ange time added at the end of a 15-minute period. 4 minutes. But even then, we were never in danger, and we've seen it over the line, and we now have a Scottish Cup final to look forward to against Hearts on the 21st of May, our first Scottish Cup final in 6 years. Brilliant stuff, Rangers. On the referee watch, fair play to Bobby Madden. He kept his cards in his pocket in the early part of the game as long as he could, and as I mentioned earlier there, I have no complaints about the cards that he did dish out to the Rangers or Celtic players. He kept his cool, and the players never really gave him a whole lot to get flustered about. That was probably his most composed Old Firm game that I can remember. So that, and the fact that Celtic fans are whining and bleating and greeting and getting devastated, and Chris Sutton being one of those about the referee display, I'm going to give Bobby Madden an 8 out of 10. And I wish it could be a 9, but maybe it would have been a 9 if we'd have given that Ryan Kent penalty in the first or second minute. So there you go. This week we have one game in the league, and that's away to Motherwell on Sunday, the 24th of April, with a 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time kickoff. That's noon in the UK. And, we really have to win our last 5 games of the season to have any chance of at least making it exciting. And on this occasion, we play earlier in the day, and the mob from the East End play later on at Ross County. We're both away on the same day, and Ross County, as I mentioned over a few pods now, are having an excellent season after a very, very bad start. We absolutely need a convincing victory in this one to apply even just a wee bit of pressure their way and see how they react. And based on how they reacted to the defeat yesterday, I think the answer is not very well. So you never know. And I just have this feeling that we're not done yet. There's going to be a few twists and turns in these last 5 games. It's all very well getting yourself into that position, but getting yourself over the line is very, very difficult to do. The last time we played Motherwell was that bizarre 2-2 draw at the end of February when we were absolutely cruising. And then we threw away a 2-0 lead, and the 2-0 lead could have been 6, and nobody would have complained after the first half, and we just had an absolute mare in the second half. But the last time we visited Fir Park was on Halloween, and we ran out 6-1 winners. So more of that type of scoreline is what we need to claw the goals back and really set a marker down to everyone in the league that we're back to our very best, and make them think again. And I am really glad that this one is at Fir Park, because we also drew 1-1 with Motherwell back in September at Ibrox. So that's 4 points at home, lost to Motherwell alone. And if both of those are victories, which especially the second one, the first one we weren't very good back in Halloween, but the second one we should have been so far out of sight at half time. But, win those 2 games and then we are still in control of our own destiny in terms of retaining the championship. That is just a big, massive sigh from me. Oh well, but all we can do now is look forward, win our last 5 games and see what happens from there. And I think with this team and the way they're playing, the way they're fighting and the way they're applying themselves, I think there's a very, very good possibility that is going to happen. From an RTV issue, it's the same as before. Our main focus for right now is to collect fees from all the clubs who haven't paid yet. I assume that the folks that haven't paid to date will end up just lumping in. We now know how many domestic games that we have between now and the end of the season, and the number is 6. So we'll start to kind of get that going with clubs that want to kind of prepay before the end of the season and get that stuff out there. So you will be hearing from Alec Grant or Alan McWatt over the next wee while and get that stuff paid, so that we don't have to go through this delinquency and cutting everyone off route that we had to do a couple of weeks back. For shout-outs, I'd like to wish Calgary, the Rangers Supporters Club of Calgary's very own Dennis Reimer, a very happy birthday. He celebrated his birthday with us yesterday during the Old Firm game on Easter Sunday. And Dennis brought the Timbits in for the troops, and even having anything Tim or Timmy related couldn't stop our amazing team from marching on into the Scottish Cup. Dennis is also attending what I believe to be his first NARSA convention this year in Las Vegas, and I'm just kind of scratch my head as to why he didn't come to the one that was in Calgary in 2018, so maybe I may have that wrong, but I'm fairly sure it is his first one. And I know that he's very much looking forward to the whole thing, especially trying to sneak in on the Saturday night without a suit on. He assures me that his shoes are more than going to make up for his lack of a suit, so I guess we'll see about that in June. Happy belated birthday, Dennis, and thanks for the snacks again. And as I'm going to do every week in April, I'm going to wish a belated happy birthday to NARSA VP Brian Campbell, who was 21 again this past Tuesday. Since I've mentioned his birthday on the last couple of pods, I said that I'm going to just do it every week in this one. So we'll see if I actually do it every week in this month, but I wanted to do it this week. So many happy returns again, because the birthday actually did happen this time. And for your birthday, I did get you a major European semi-final for Rangers. You're welcome. I hope you like it, my friend. A quick update from the convention work that's going on this week. I can officially confirm that it's 45 days from today until the first official event of the 2022 convention. To put that in a week's to-go context, that's just over 6 weeks to get everything sorted for the event. The honour of celebrating our club's glorious 150th anniversary, Her Majesty the Queen's Platinum Jubilee anniversary, the 50th anniversary of Barcelona 72, and NARSA's 30th anniversary is almost upon us, folks. What a bumper year, and what an amazing event that we have planned for you. I almost had another Rangers VIP legend to be able to announce for you today, but the reins were pulled on me a little bit earlier today and told to maybe just hold off because it's not 100% guaranteed just yet. The travel is being looked at, and I'm hoping that this time next week we will have another legendary figure from Barcelona 72 to announce next week. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I'm very, very hopeful that we'll be able to do that for next week. We did have a late addition to the football sign-ups with Callum Beattie, our musical entertainment for a part of our musical entertainment from the Friday night to the Tam Plunkett Blue Night. He signed up for the football on deadline day. So depending how in tune his guitar is on the Friday night will determine whether I really want him in my team on the Saturday morning or not. But I am told that he actually plays in his spare time for Edinburgh City, so he can't be all that bad. So you never know. You might get the opportunity to play with the president of NARSA, Callum, and I'm sure you're absolutely thrilled by that prospect. The golf is still for sale, and the Las Vegas Loyal will be announcing, all being well, the details of the Sunday leaving do a little bit later this week sometime. And what I can tell you from a sneak peek perspective is that it is not going to be in Blondie's, contrary to popular belief. They are planning something really special at another venue, and as I say, news will be out a little bit later this week, so please stay tuned and get ready for that announcement and purchase your tickets for said event so that you don't miss out on that. Another plug for our Convention Frequently Asked Questions document that's on our website. I made my feelings known on last week's pod about the fact that it appears no one reads it at all, especially even people who should be reading it. So I'm not going to mention that again this week. I know I just did. But please read it before you get in touch, and you might save yourself a little bit of time in the process. On the communications front this week, I did indeed make it on to the Heart and Hand Daily Update. Last week, I initially told you last Monday that I was going to be on Tuesday, but it ended up being on Wednesday, as David Edgar just basically forgot about me on the Tuesday. Yeah, here's me up and ready, all nice and early, and then I get absolutely dinged by him, the big rubber ear, and we push it out 24 hours. What a guy. And that's our MC, by the way, for Vegas. But if you subscribe to the Heart and Hand Network and you heard that, I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't subscribe and didn't hear it, you missed a belter. But then I'm a wee bit biased, so maybe it was just okay, I don't know. But it was great to be on. That's one of their kind of main shows there, and it was an honour and a privilege to be on with David. I had a lot of fun. So we managed to get a good plug. The main reason, of course, to be there was to get a good plug in for NARSA 2022, and we did that to build a wee bit more excitement between ourselves, myself and David, and also hopefully for the folks that listen to us to the pod as well. It's awards season right now as we get towards the end of the season, and Rangers did send out the voting for this season's Player of the Year. The article on the website says our 150th anniversary season has been a special occasion for Rangers supporters all over the world and on the pitch. We have had a number of incredible moments already, including our best European campaign since 2008, first time qualification into the UEFA Women's Champions League for the women's team, and the debut of a number of academy players into the first team. Supporters now have the opportunity to cast their vote on who will be crowned the first team Player of the Year, which will be presented by Douglas Lang and co at our Player Awards ceremony on Sunday the 24th of April. That will be after the Motherwell game, of course. 9 candidates are available to choose from: Joe Aribo, Calvin Bassey, Connor Goldson, Glenn Kamara, Ryan Kent, John Lundstrom, Alfredo Morelos, Kamar Roof and James Tavernier were the 9 to choose from. That's quite a long list, isn't it? Anyway, so voting is actually now closed for this. It closed, I believe, yesterday. And it's going to be really interesting to see who wins it this year. I voted last week and I ended up going for Alfredo Morelos, but I was really torn between him and James Tavernier. And quite honestly, I can't literally remember why I ended up going with Alfie. I think maybe just because the injury, season-ending injury and surgery had just been announced, and I guess I felt sorry for him, and I just kind of thought about his body of work over the whole course of the season, the development of him as a player, some of the crucial goals that he scored, and just the way that he's just blossoming into just a fantastic world-class player. I think that's why I ended up stumping for him. But if I had a vote again, I probably most likely, especially after the last 2 games, would have went with James Tavernier, because his numbers and his performances have just been absolutely superb. He's one of these guys in the moment, and he's not the only one in the team, to be fair, but we just seem to focus on all the things that he doesn't do, or the things that he doesn't do well or as well as other players, rather than what he does do. And what he does do well. And what he actually does do is so incredibly influential and impactful for our team. Like most things, I guess we won't fully appreciate him until his time with us is gone, and there's a massive gap at right back and a massive gap in terms of assists and goals scored from the right back position. But he's had a fantastic season, and I won't be surprised at all if he picks up the award next week when it gets dished out. Just another quick reminder for any season ticket holders out there that the renewals are still ongoing. So if you are planning to renew your ticket, you better get on that, because I know for a fact that there is a very lengthy waiting list of bears desperate to get in on the Rangers action. Just a wee quick reminder on that one. And finally, on the comms front this week, I noticed an article on the Sky Sports website entitled "Police Probe Alleged Sectarian and Anti-Catholic Singing by Rangers Fans." Yeah, that's what the title says. And I'll give you a wee bit of an excerpt, or maybe I'll read the whole thing out, I'm not sure. Police Scotland are investigating alleged sectarian and anti-Catholic singing by a group of Rangers fans being escorted to Hampden on Sunday. The group were being moved away by officers from an area of, in inverted commas, high risk, before Rangers' 2-1 extra time win over Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final. Chief Superintendent Mark Sutherland, Divisional Commander for Greater Glasgow, said the priority at the time was to move the supporters away from the area. They are now looking back at video footage for alleged sectarian and anti-Catholic chants. He said the Scottish Cup semi-final between Rangers and Celtic at Hampden Park in Glasgow on Sunday, 17 April, was a large and complex operation that involved officers working with a range of partners across the country to ensure the match went ahead safely and with minimal disruption to the wider public. Police Scotland had a proportionate plan in place to support the event and to deal swiftly with acts of violence, disorder and antisocial behaviour. Prior to kick-off, a group of Rangers supporters were escorted to the stadium. The focus of the policing operation at this time was public safety and the quick movement away from an area where there was a high risk of disorder between supporter groups. Video evidence footage was taken at that time, and inquiries are now ongoing into alleged sectarian and anti-Catholic singing from those being escorted. Anti-Catholic and indeed all forms of hate crime are completely unacceptable, and today's events again remind us of the ongoing challenges we have in some parts of Scotland with sectarianism. Police Scotland must of course play its part in a wider and joined up response, and I expect arrests to be made following today's match. I'm just going to repeat that last part. And I expect arrests to be made following today's match. Okay, so I know I'm a bit biased, but this seems like very presumptuous policing by Chief Superintendent Mark Sutherland and his team, especially on old firm days. You're going to hear a lot of singing of songs that admittedly, 100% are no longer acceptable in society. Rangers Everyone Anyone campaign has taken a very hard line against this since its inception, almost 3 years ago now, in 2019. And there's absolutely no arguments that stuff like this shouldn't happen. But it's not only Rangers fans that engage in this. I'm under no illusions whatsoever that with minimal effort, Chief Superintendent Mark Sutherland and his team could have sent some officers with body cams to another area of Mount Florida and very, very, very easily found fans of the opposite side singing in similar forms of hate crime or discriminatory behaviour or sectarianism. It seems so strange that it's just after, I'm sure it's pure coincidence, that just after a defeat that the bold and brazen headline stating "Police Probe Alleged Sectarian and Anti-Catholic Singing by Rangers Fans" is plastered out there on a national website, a sports website. I'm sure it's, as I say, it's an absolute coincidence that the timing is such as it is. Imagine there was such boldness in policing and journalism and reporting around the paedophile ring that's been circulating a certain club in the west of Scotland for decades and decades. Interesting times in that home country of mine. You just could not make it up, I tell you. Anyway, that will do it for this week, my friends. Bask in and enjoy the week that was, the week that we made history. There, Bears, get some rest and relaxation. Gloat to as many Celtic fans as you can possibly find and recharge your batteries and get ready for Sunday's important Motherwell match. As I say, mark my words, I don't think we are quite done with this league campaign yet either. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Please do share it with any of your mates or anyone who you think might be interested in listening, and enjoy it. And until next week, please do take care. All the very best. Cheerio.